Growing up and getting older are not the same thing. Everybody gets older. This is a fact of life. But not everybody grows up. I would believe this is because the conditions that require maturity in human beings are not universally present. This world is traumatized, and each human being that grows up in it becomes traumatized as well. Growing up is not just getting older. Growing up means that my nervous system, my consciousness, my being grows optimally, that I am able to progress through a series of very important stages at each age, at each level of development, and I become a living embodiment of moving through this stage optimally. I learn, I experience, I complete every stage of development. For example, much of the very beginning of life is about safety and security. So what this means is that if I experience safety and security early in life, then I rest in my body. I trust that things will be given to me, that when I have needs, I will be able to express them and they will be met. And I mature. I move to the next stage of development, which is more about autonomy, will, independence, and so on. It goes progressively through the ages, through the getting older portion of life. But if safety and security is not met, if I do not learn that the world is safe, that my needs will be met, then like the foundation of my nervous system, of my life, is incomplete. It's delayed. Instead of being open and having energy flow naturally through me, I hold myself. As a basic rule, human beings hold themselves when they are not held. So what this means is, for me and many other people, we get older in life, but we don't have a developed foundation, an integrated foundation of being safe, of feeling safe in this world. And what that's meant for me was that no matter what I did as an adult, I was really limited by the fact that I didn't feel safe. So what I had to learn to do, and what I'm suggesting that you can learn to do, is to go back and complete every stage of my development, to sort of regrow up, to relive my life, to welcome my fear and my insecurity, and parent myself, essentially. I didn't do this by myself. I learned that relationship is a fundamental part of the developmental process. I learned to find people to support me in my development. But essentially, for me to fulfill my potential as a human being, I have had to, I continue to have to go back to the earlier levels of development and complete them so I can be mature. Now, the good news is that this is possible. The technology or the capacity or the orientation to this is available now, increasingly so. I don't believe this has always been true. I don't really believe that in our culture it's been possible to find the resources that are needed to complete our developmental process. The consciousness and culture just hasn't been there. I think what people did previously is they just worked harder, or they persevered, or they pushed through, or they limited their possible adult potential. They lowered their expectations or narrowed their field of development to what was possible for them. But the good news is that today it's possible to return to the younger states of the nervous system and support them and nurture them to grow, to feel the insecurity and the pain and the missing that happened, and to continue the development, to move through these stages and complete them. The bad news, if there is bad news, is this takes a huge investment of time and energy. It requires that you are very committed to this process. It takes as much time and energy to grow up as it does to raise a child. You can think about it that way. What you're really doing is you're identifying that you are not mature or not completely mature or have fragments or pockets of immaturity in yourself. And you're choosing to take on these younger, underdeveloped parts of yourself and raise yourself. You're taking on the project of parenting and completing your development. So how do you do this? Well, first, it's really helpful to notice that wherever you have problems in your life, where your relationships break down, where you have a lack of direction, where you aren't able to fulfill your adult responsibilities or live out your potential, these are all signs that what is natural to you, the impulse of your life and your birth, has been delayed or distorted or traumatized. These are all symptoms of trauma. And more we can start to realize it's not that we're just bad people or lazy or we have the wrong mindset, but actually there is an incomplete nervous system that is really doing the best that it can. And instead of being punitive or punishing ourselves for having problems, we can learn to care for ourselves. This mindset or this possibility we learn progressively. And the main skill, the main thing that I teach around this and that I suggest is essential is learning how to feel our bodies. And specifically learning how to feel the places where we feel younger. So you'd think that feeling your body would be really easy. It's right here. But the nature of trauma is that it separates our actual felt sense from the content, from the energy of our nervous system. Trauma numbs us or disconnects us from what we are actually feeling. So the skill of feeling our body really requires a commitment to shifting my focus, to turning my attention and being curious. How do I feel now throughout my whole body, throughout my whole nervous system? And as we are able to feel more and more what's happening for us, we start to recognize that quite often the feelings that we have in our body, we feel younger in them. And this is very important. So that when I have anger as an adult, or when I act out as an adult, or when I act immature as an adult, instead of thinking of myself as an immature adult, I start to recognize that my emotions and my behavior are really on point. They are perfectly appropriate for someone who is younger. So I may be 40 or 60 or 30, whatever my age is. I may be older, but in my body, I start to recognize that my nervous system doesn't always feel older. And so instead of treating myself like an adult, I learn to respond appropriately to the younger places inside myself. Often this means being kind and gentle and soft. Instead of responding to my feelings with thoughts like, why this, why that? Instead of being rational in response to the emotions that I have, learning to hold and care for the emotions I have. We wouldn't be rational with a baby, so why would I be rational with my fear and insecurity? So for me, this process of growing up has been essential to living an adult life. It was not possible for me to have a good life and as an adult without learning to go back into the body and into my history and complete the growing up experience. And if it's like that for you too, well, then you're in good company. And there is a technology or a way to do this efficiently, skillfully, so that you can live the life that you were born to live, the life that's an expression of your potential rather than your limitations. So this skill is something that I teach, that I love. You can look at the other videos that I have on my channel. You can work with me. It's an exciting time to be a human being if you are seeking the expression of your highest potential, because as every day passes, becomes more and more available to get what you really need.